Okay, I think we'll do a little audio test real quick.
All right. Yeah, testing 1, 2, 3. Can you all hear me? I can hear you.
Yes,
Can
a
you?
little bit better. We're turning up the mic over here.
Okay.
Okay, can
I'll
you?
use my teaching voice.
Yes, there you go. There you go. Yes, the
Can you
audience
all
is
see the
saying they
slides
can
fine?
hear. Okay, this is our last segment, and we have Jason Zahrndt, and he is the director over at the University of Louisville Delphi Center. He's the director for the Digital Media Studio, and he really has been a trailblazer for the university in the area of digital media and now in AI. And so he's going to showcase how the students and faculty, different examples of how we're using AI in different ways. And again, really focused on student and faculty so that we can kind of get a taste for, all things from there. So Jason, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. You can see my slides good?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So I am going to give you just a brief overview of a couple of different things and go through some of the uses that we have seen here at U of L, but also in general in just higher education, how AI is impacting things. But again, thanks Sharon for the introduction, and just put that slide up there just so you know. And if you don't know me, I have been at the University of Louisville in this position for almost a decade now. And I've actually, over the past 20 years, been a college English instructor. I've been a college librarian. And in the digital media suite, if you don't know what it is, we are the university's main support center for all faculty, staff, and students regarding digital media, especially. And we're picking up with AI because everybody has to. But we're located on the Belknap campus in the Ekstrom Library, providing computer access, recording studios, tutoring support, all of those different kinds of areas where students, faculty, and staff may need that type of help. So I wanted to actually start, and I know we've already had some amazing presentations, but I wanted to just give a very brief kind of how did we get to where we are and what does that mean? So in recent surveys of college students and just students around the world, but especially college students, the average number who are saying they're using AI tools for their schoolwork is between 85 and around 92%. And those are the people that have admitted this. And these are studies that have been conducted in the US, in the UK, and globally. I think the most recent one was from actually Inside Higher Ed. They conducted a US study and they found around 90% of students in the US were saying that they use AI for their classwork. And why are they using it? About 51% are saying because it saves them time. And another half, or probably about the same half, are saying that they're doing it to improve the quality of their work. So not only are they feeling like they're being more efficient, they're also feeling like they're being more effective. And then another large chunk, 40%, are saying they're using it because it provides them with some form of instant or personalized assistance that they cannot get from peers, from their classmates, from their instructors, and for many times I think valid reasons, because even if they email us, we can't, or we don't always immediately reply. And if there may be an online student, there's just not access to peers or classmates to have those same kinds of conversations. And there's a variety of other reasons that students say that they use AI. They talk about that. I know other students are using it, so I feel I should use it. Many students, around 13 to 15%, say that they're being directly encouraged by their universities, by their institutions to use AI. Obviously, that's happening here. And only about 7% said that they have no interest and that they do not use AI tools at all. What's kind of what are they kind of doing with it, I think is another question. And one of the main things, about 69% of students are using it in place of internet searches. And I think this is a huge, important fact to recognize that a lot of students are just going to their phones, they're going to their computers, they're pulling up Google or others, and they're just searching for ideas through the AI tools as if they used to search the web. So instead of just a Google search and then looking through the results, they're just asking Google, and Gemini is giving them those initial answers, or they're asking ChatGPT for these answers. And it's really important, as have already been talked about today, to know that depending on which AI the student is using, which version they're using, if they're paying for versions of that, they're going to get dramatically different answers. And some of them are going to be possibly inaccurate or the hallucination issue. And so it's a really vital thing that we recognize that this is one of the main areas that students are leveraging AI tools in their minds to be more efficient, more effective, and to just do better in their classes. Some of these surveys also talked about what the students are worried about. And I think that this is really key because if you've been in any conversations with your peers as a faculty or staff member, you know that we're worried about AI and we're worried about what it's doing, but the students are worried as well. And the largest concern is of privacy and data security. The students are worried about whether these things are secure, whether their information is being used to train these AI tools, or if it's being used in other ways, if it's being sold, the standard kinds of information concerns that we should have with use of any kind of tech. And about 53% are really directly worried about being accused of cheating or academic misconduct because they used AI tools. And so as we think about what our understanding and our use, and as you see some of the uses that U of L and other institutions are using AI for, and as you saw from Dr. El-Maghrabi's, remembering that the students are worried about whether or not this is okay. And then another 51% are really worried about getting bad information. So even though they think that and they feel that this is helping them, they're also very much worried and recognize that there is a concern with the types of information that they're getting. And then the last statistic, and I think this one's really interesting and really telling, is that only 4% of students, and this is from a UK study of about 3,000 students, only 4% said that they were fully comfortable using AI tools. And this is just from earlier this year. The study was released at the beginning of 2025. So even though 50, 60% are using it for all of these kinds of reasons, 80, 90% are using it pretty consistently, they don't feel comfortable with it. So as I talk about some of the examples and as you see some of the ways that we as faculty and staff can bring AI into the classroom, I think these are some important statistics to just really keep in mind. So that's how we got here. But what is here, I guess, is another kind of the questions that I wanted to address because I think it's really relevant as we think about what is happening in the classrooms. So you've already seen, and you probably knew, November 2022 is when ChatGPT 3 was released. And that was the first kind of major release that really brought the AI into the forefront. And it was the one that did the things that kind of amazed everybody and has now consistently kept amazing us. Some interesting and useful information that has come out of higher education are the studies and the understandings of what this means for us. And in July of 2023, this article, if you haven't read it, you really should back up and find it. You can pull it up anywhere. And if you don't read Ethan Mollick, I encourage you to follow his blog called One Useful Thing. The Homework Apocalypse article in July of 2023, so just 6 months or so after GPT-3 was released, really laid out that there are three major areas in our classes that AI is undermining immediately. And those areas were essay writing, reading activities, and problem sets. So assigning students groups of problems for any kind of class. And that the bottom line is that these are activities that these AI tools can do. And whether they do them correctly or not, whether they do them as well as a human should, or whether it's the right thing to do, none of that really matters from the way he was looking at it, except that they can do it. And so the bottom line for us as educators is that we have to experiment now, actually then, 2 years ago, to find the next activities or to rearrange and rework our teaching methods so that our classrooms maintained their value. And I think that this is still a conversation that's going on. That's why I'm here today, I think. That's why so many of you are here today. But it's been going on, and it's really like a core kind of this component. About a year later, Mark Watkins, and this is skipping a huge amount of other of scholarship and work, both much more scholarly than some of these, but then also these kinds of newsletters and popular studies from magazines and newspapers. This is from the Chronicle of Higher Education. Mark Watkins is a Center for Teaching and Learning Director, I believe in Georgia, if I remember correctly, but he's also an English teacher. And this article, I think, is a really interesting one if you are struggling with what do I do in my class? Because what Mark Watkins raises is the idea that if AI tools can shortcut the learning process, if they can make it easier for students to do their work, which the students recognize that it does, then how do we bring back what we have known for a very long time is the important component of learning, which is the experimentation, the struggle, the friction is what he calls it. How do we bring that back into the class so that students have to do hard work so that they do learn in a really intrinsic and internalized way? And so this article describes some of the possibilities. Most importantly, he talks about bringing in reflection as a key component so that the students can see what the AI is doing or what they are doing. And so reflecting not only on their activities, but also the AI's activities and kind of going back and forth. And then about a year later, kind of building on both Malik as well as Watkins and a lot of other articles. Grant Harvey, who is a writer for The Neuron, which is another newsletter, which if you're not subscribed to it, I very much encourage you to do so. They send out daily newsletters that have all sorts of great information. But in his article, which is part of a longer series of called WTF is Going On with AI in Education, he lays out a lot of an argument about how we can approach the next steps. So he does a lot of what I've just done, where he puts together some of the history of what AI is, what it has done to education, and then what to do next. And really his key idea is, again, coming back to that struggle and building that into what is called reflective practice, which is actually where students, in order to learn, need to think about what they knew before, reflect on that, and then that is how they can integrate their new knowledge. They have to have that prior knowledge and they have to understand that prior knowledge so that they can then add new things to do new tasks. And so that's a really great article, and they have some really excellent support there. So if you're struggling as a faculty member or as a staff member with your classes, with your students, I think those three I like the most, but they're certainly not all of them. And so there are thousands and thousands of articles that I think can be very much of interest to you. Chronicle, Inside Higher Ed, Neuron, all of those. Okay, so hopefully I kind of established a bit of a baseline. And of course, the slide messed up my font there. But what is the AI use in the classroom that we're seeing at U of L? And I'm going to pull from a couple of different examples, but I think I wanted to just have right off the bat the most common fear that we all have of what AI use is happening in the classroom. And I hope that you can see that, but if you can't, the prompt that just went into ChatGPT is, can you write me a personal essay for my English 101 class? And write it as if you are an English 101 student. And ChatGPT immediately says, sure, here's a draft of your personal narrative. And so if these tools can take our prompts from our classes, writing prompts especially, but as Malik mentioned, the problem sets or reading assignments, and you can just drop it into these prompts and get that response back. And they're so quick to just answer you in those very direct ways. What do we do? Well, some of what faculty have been doing is really thinking about, yes, Katie, I'll share all of the articles as well as any of the other things that I'm going to pull up. Very good question. The thing to start with is for you as a faculty member, for you as a staff member, whatever it is, to ask the question of yourself, what is the it that I was having my students do when I had them read this assignment, when I had them write this paper, when I had them complete these problem sets, or whatever they may be? One faculty member that I've worked with from the School of Music talked about that. I need to look at my assignment and say, so if I'm having them write a 20-page paper and they can have ChatGPT do that in minutes or less, why would they still write that paper? And if I still need them to write parts of that paper, maybe the AI can do it for them. What do I actually need to see? What is the it that I need to pull out of that project that I need to see the students do themselves as a human? And so asking that question of, in a 20-page paper, there's probably parts that are, I don't want to say perfunctory, but as an English teacher, there are some parts that are probably perfunctory. Things like doing the right MLA sports formatting or citations. They're important, but it's perfunctory. It should just be done. And if the AI can do it for us, awesome. I would love that. So asking that question of what is the it? And one of the ways to ask that question is to think about the ways that you've structured the assignments in your class. And so what he did is he actually pulled up this adaptation of Bloom's taxonomy. And you can find this online. This is from the University of Oregon. They did it several years ago, and it's still one of the best adaptations for AI that I've seen, where they divided the 6 levels of Bloom's taxonomy and said, there are some things that are distinctively human skills. And there are some things that AI can really do well with us or for us even. And if you look at the pyramid there, you can see that at the bottom, that white highlighted area is really, really broad, indicating that the AI can really do the remembering step. And it can do a little bit less of understanding. It can do a little bit less of apply on up to the top where the creation, theoretically at least, is narrow. And that's where we're more human, or at the very least, that's where we probably want to see the human really come forth. And so in his class, he was thinking about that, okay, I'm having them write this 20-page paper. And actually what it was is they were writing a handbook for their future students as band directors. And there were a lot of steps in there that were just like checklists, things that they had to have, calendars, those sorts of basic features that were, again, perfunctory but important. Could those be handed over to the AI? And then what did the human still need to say? The things like, as your band director, I'm talking to you as a student and as teachers of these students or as parents of these students, and I'm making this connection with you. So including some sort of personal letters, including those sorts of key features that you as that director felt were relevant. The evaluation of what is key in being in my band. Those were the things that were more human. And so he was thinking about ways to have the students do those that couldn't involve or didn't involve the AI. Another example that I've seen is there was a faculty member in sport administration or health and sport sciences, actually, where the assignment in the class was to analyze a large data set of blood pressure monitor results and to then identify any sort of issues or possible health problems coming out of those blood pressure monitoring information. And it was stacks and stacks of data along with some of the information from a case study basically about the person. And what the instructor did was, okay, I want you to do this yourself. We're going to in class on paper do a quick kind of analysis. I want you to spend time looking through all of this information and write down what you think the actual answers are from this case study. Then, as homework, do all of that same thing with the AI. Then when we come back, we're going to compare what did you say, what did the AI say, and evaluate and analyze where there were differences and why those differences might exist. And most importantly, one of the things that came out in that activity was that the instructor saw that, or the students saw that if you ask ChatGPT, the free version, or Claude, the free version, it doesn't necessarily have the most recent information from the web. And so it was actually pulling old methods of analyzing some of the data and some of the ideas that the American Heart Association and some of the other groups were saying was to be taken away from these case studies. And the students knew that new information. They had access to that, but the AI necessarily didn't. And so recognizing that in that situation, it's really a drawback to use the AI because yes, it got you to the answer faster, but it was explicitly the wrong answer. And so that reflective activity, that evaluation of that work, again, thinking back to Watkins, where he was having them reevaluate and reflect on the AI, was a core component of what really worked in the classroom for that instructor. Additionally, another faculty member has students basically do just a short little presentation about a topic in their field. And it's very, very short, but they have to find an image and they have to talk about some of the core concepts. So it's a relatively low-level course and they're doing just relatively low-level work. Again, if you think back to the Bloom's taxonomy, intro-level courses are often about remember and understand and maybe thinking about some application. That's where they kind of focus because they're introducing those concepts. But in this course, the instructor said, okay, we're going to use the AI for some things, but I need you to recognize where are the good boundaries, where are the guardrails that we should put into place to make sure that you do learn these fundamental concepts that without those, when you get to your next class, you would be falling behind, you would be lacking in information, you would need to go to the AI to answer this question when really you're answering a much more complicated question that needs those fundamental concepts. And so even though, yes, it's easy to just ask ChatGPT for something about Porter's five forces, if you're in business, it's not necessarily the best idea if you haven't read Porter's Five Forces and spent some time thinking about what they actually do. And so he described and worked with the students collaboratively to establish guidelines about when and where we should use AI or not in the classroom. And I think that's a really important component for his class, and I think for many others, is he did it in conjunction with the students in a very realistic way, admitting that yes, if we use AI for these things, it will be faster and it'll probably be right because things like Porter's Five Forces, very, very common. It's out there and so many places on the internet. But if you don't at least do some of that basic remembering and understanding work, then you will be at a disadvantage when you move on. So how do we establish these guardrails? Additionally, he didn't just establish the guardrails. The guardrails could kind of move as the semester went along and as he went from semester to semester because these tools are constantly changing. We know that they can do so many things now in just 3 years that they couldn't do when they first were released. If for no other reason than there are just so many more AI tools out there. And so recognizing that yes, this is a bit of a pain to have to constantly reevaluate what and how we're doing our work with our students. It's an important pain because we need to know what is the realistic methods that these students are going to do their work. And that actually takes me to another example. This is all from a communication professor, and she teaches in social media. She teaches marketing, amazing work, but she directly engages with AI in so many different ways in her classes because in the field of marketing and in the field of social media marketing especially, AI is used every single day in a very authentic way by so many marketing firms, graphic designers, and other areas. And so one of the assignments that she has her students do to see what this looks like and what this means is leveraging the ability of AI to pull in large data sets. If you could see on the Bloom's taxonomy that remember and understand and apply, it can pull in lots of information. So she has the students ask the AI, look online at all of my information that you can find about me, especially on my social media platforms, and then tell me what my personal brand is. Explain to me who I am and how I could market myself to someone if I was going out for a marketing job or if I was selling my work. And that personal branding, the ability for the AI to gather all of that data and to synthesize it, the instructor said it was rather eerie because it even knew that I drank coffee. It created a picture of me holding a coffee cup, even though I never said I love coffee or anything like that. It found that out by just pulling information from the web. But key, another component of it, again, the reflective practice, thinking about these works, the AI did say that she was actually a professor of neuroscience. She's not. That's actually her mother. So very important distinction again that these AI are amazing, but they get things wrong. And so the human in that loop is a really key component of all of these. Additionally, in that class, an even more authentic method is the students in one of her courses actually work with external businesses in the area to do marketing proposals for them. And one of the examples that she listed was one of the groups working with a company asked if they could use AI and created an entire marketing proposal, a marketing plan for a variety of different like social media and print and other areas using Adobe Express, which is one of the tools available to the university, the Firefly AI tool that's built into it that lets them create images or vectors and other kinds of resources, as well as ChatGPT to do the writing, and turned it over to the company. And when they did, one of the questions they asked was, where do you think we used AI and where do you think is us? And the company couldn't really tell because not only did the students do a great job by integrating the AI and do a great job on their own, they wove it into their actual work so that it looked seamless, that the images that they took and the images that they created with AI merged together. And again, this was over a year ago. If you were going to use Nano Banana from Google, you could actually take pictures, use Nano Banana, which is it's their AI model for their image generator, to edit those, create new ones, and go from there. And so the authenticity of this assignment was huge for the students because not only did it show them that, hey, we need to know how to use AI because it's going to speed up our process, it's going to make it better because we have all of these options now, but also then to reflect on how it integrates with them as a person in their work. And that authenticity is another component that actually filters back through some of the assignments I was just describing. So for, the band director class, the students were really thinking about, if I am going to be a band director in just a few years, I need to be able to write a 20-page guidebook for my students. How do I do that? AI is absolutely a way to do that and a very key part. And then other areas, that authentic aspect of its integration in healthcare and so many others. So the takeaway from all of this, and what I'm hoping that you're seeing, is that reflecting on the AI use, seeing where the robot and you kind of mix back and forth. And by the way, there was another version of this image where the person was in the mirror and the robot was looking at them, is really important. And so recognizing that as we move forward, maybe what we're going to be is weaving in and out of the AI a lot, which, by the way, I didn't use AI to write or create these images, but I use AI all the time. Every single day, I have both my Claude personal subscription that I pay for and then the ChatGPT subscription that we have. And I'm in and out of those all the time. I also have a Gemini and a Perplexity subscription. So it's definitely something that has woven itself into my workflow, but I think it's something that we need to recognize is going to be a part of the workflow for students and for us probably going forward. And I'm going to take a breath if anybody has questions. But I have a little bit more that I want to show you. I think some interesting ideas about how to apply this. Okay, so through all of that, what I think is really kind of a starting point is that we have to build AI literacy and fluency for our students and for ourselves so that they can do the things that they right now feel uncomfortable doing. Remember, the stat showed that only 4% felt really comfortable using AI tools, but so many of them are. So what does that mean? I think the first place that we need to start is in our classes, in our syllabus, and I actually gave a workshop about this earlier this year. We need to have policies in our class that are explicit and clear and transparent to our students about when and where and why and how they can use these AI tools. We'll be giving this policy workshop again in November. I don't think it's up on our Delphi Center website yet, but it'll be happening in person. And my suggestion, this is an adaptation of what is called the stoplight model. It's been used and variations of it are all over the place. And it's honestly a variation of the syllabus policies that the university currently recommends. But you should start by saying, there are going to be things in this class, and it may even just be this part of this activity, one step of writing a paper or one part of this experiment that are explicitly human learning. And I need you to show me that you can do those. Then there's going to be some parts that the AI can do, and it can just do it really well. We've already handed over spell check years and years ago, and grammar check, honestly. Maybe there are other things that we can hand over to the AI that we can trust and still check, but there are some tasks that it can do faster and maybe even better than I can on my own. And then in the middle of that, there are things that we can do to partner with those AI tools, that we can work with them to do something that we couldn't do before just on our own. And the really important question about all of that is, okay, if I'm going to have this policy in my class, then probably anything that's an AI task, you just don't grade it. Or you grade at a very low level. So thinking back to the example with the sport administration or the health and sports science classes where the AI did some of the work, if the students turn that in, just show that they did it, don't grade that or just give it a few points because the AI did it. Why would you waste your time grading it? Move your points, move your scale to those things that you're saying as part of this class with your policy. I want to see you do this work, whether it's completely on your own or if it's with the AI tool. And if it's with the AI tool, you have to reflect on it. You have to talk to me about what you learned, what you didn't learn, how you learned it. Another really great example from another faculty member here is they will have the student, again, in class on paper, start writing an essay. And then they'll let the student go and they will require that they use AI for at least part of the actual writing of the rest of the essay. And then when they turn in the final draft of the essay, they have to include just a short reflective statement that says, this is what I did, but then they have to explain what changed from when they started the writing on their own to what they ended up with the AI in the middle. What did the AI do to their learning process, to their thinking process, to their research process? What did it do to their learning? And that shows up in that final product. And maybe it's not a lot, maybe it's a huge amount, but that is a really important part for those students to, again, critically think about where they are in that work with the AI tool. The human in the loop is a really popular phrase. I think you could flip it and say the AI in the loop, and remembering that there still does need to be a person, and the loop shouldn't be the AI. Maybe it should be the human, and the AI is just one of those little steps in there. I don't know. I think that that's an interesting question that we're going to have to deal with as we go forward. From there, I think you do have to acknowledge that the students are not fully versed in any of these tools. Neither are we. There's too many to stay fully versed in all the time. There's things that I've never heard of that we saw today. So one of the ways that you can build AI literacy and fluency for your students is to incorporate some materials that the university or other places provide. QR code and that link, which we'll also share afterward, goes to the university's Generative AI for College Students mini course, micro course. This is something that the university libraries, in conjunction with myself and the Digital Media Suite and the Writing Center, created about a year ago now. It's 6 short little courses, and when I say short, I mean like 15-minute lessons. They have a pre-test asking the students, what do you know about this? They give some lecture video and some activity, and then there's a little post-test just to see what did the student learn. And if the student completes all 6 of these little micro course activities, they get a certificate that they can send to you. This is open to all U of L faculty, staff, and students. And so it's something that if you haven't taken it, you might want to check it out. It's pretty quick. It takes about like an hour and a half total to do all of them, but it's a good first step. And it gives you that certificate, so it at least says, I've done something about AI. I've acknowledged some of this information. I think from there as well, you need to consider that there is a lot of information to be gathered, and that a lot of the institutions that we know and trust are trying to make this manageable for us. And so one example that I think is really helpful is from the ACRL, that's the American College Research Libraries. They have proposed an adaptation of their information literacy framework that they've had for decades now, that talk about the things that students should know and how they should know and the types of methods of research. And they apply it to AI by saying there are 6 things that students should know how to do. And you can see those on the screen there: basics of the AI, fundamental differences of the tools. They need to work with the tools. They need to engage with the tools and talk about them with other people. And so these are some of the activities that you might be able to incorporate in the class. These are some of the ways that you might think about it. And if you recognize, some of these were showing up in those earlier activities from those teachers. They were employing those as well. And so this is a really important kind of step, I think, to consider as you think about what it looks like in your class. Beyond all of that, I'm including this just because it just came out. ChatGPT, or OpenAI, the company that owns ChatGPT, Microsoft, Google, and now Anthropic, they all have different variations of how to learn their tools or how to learn about AI in general. I like the one that just came out from Anthropic. It was just released, I think, a day or 2 ago, because it focuses in on the AI fluency for educators. And you can see there that it includes a fluency for students, a fluency for teachers, and then it even includes one for the teachers of teachers. So people like myself who are support staff or are running faculty developments or professional development activities, they have short trainings. They take about 2 to 3 hours, I think, is the estimate for most of these. I haven't had a chance to dig into them yet, but I'm excited. I'm interested, especially because it's just so focused in on what we're doing day-to-day basis. So there's a lot of information, a lot of things. And if we kind of just pull all the way back, remember that we are worried about what this looks like. But you have to experiment. Like Malik said, you have to do something now, even if it's just something small. You need to think about that reflective practice, You can see in a lot of those classes where they're having the students use the AI and then talk about what the AI did or didn't do and how well it worked. You need to try and make sure that you're linking things that they've already worked on and know to where they're going to go with that, but do it all authentically as well, making as real of an assignment as possible. This may be one of those cases where busy work activities, which none of us want to say we have busy work in our class, but some of us do, just because that's the nature of our classes sometimes. Maybe that busy work is the AI task now. And maybe we do have the opportunity to step beyond the busy work that was slowing down some of the initial maybe weeks of our class or even smaller parts of our activities and let our students do something harder because they can use these AI tools to get them even further along. I'm going to pause there. I have some information about some upcoming events and ways that you can continue to learn from the University of Louisville and the Delphi Center, but questions, curiosities, things that are on people's minds?
Jason, we don't have any from here, so we can wrap up here early, get everybody to lunch. I'm sorry, there is a question. You'll have to speak very loudly or come up here so they can hear.
If we're not at the university right now, but we've been to the university in the past, can we access these courses?
Not through the Delphi Center, but that link we gave you previously that has all those other links, that one is open source. And we've been trying to do a lot of these community free events. You heard from Dan, there's an AI exchange tonight at the brewery. I think tomorrow there is a big event at the College of Business for AI.
Next Wednesday, we have a future of jobs with AI and a chai event. We have another one on legal things coming, also one on cybersecurity. So we do a lot of events
that are free and open to the public. But this particular section of this day seminar or half-day seminar was really focused on the last piece, which is how are students, how are faculty engaging in that. So unless you have a louisville.edu address, you can't get into that particular portal. But again, we're trying to do as many things. I mean, this is a busy week even. We've got 5 things that we've done, just to try to outreach to the community. So thank you for that question.
And you can access those Anthropic and the other resources from the individual companies. They definitely are open. So
that link that I had put in there, and we'll send it out as well again to all the participants because we've had 70 or 80 people online as well. So we'll send that out as well. All right. Any concluding remarks, Jason?
Yeah, let me just wrap up by there's a lot more coming for those of you that are at U of L right now. So I am running a whole series of very informal, both virtual and in-person activities over the course of this semester, AI Bites and Learning Circles, so where you can come and talk or get your hands on with some of these tools. We actually have our next session coming up this Tuesday. It'll be in the Till Classroom in Ekstrom Library, where we'll be working with AI writing activities, and the Writing Center will actually be there for that one. And then in October, we'll have an online session talking about creating immersive learning, things like role play activities. So we'll be talking about those. For more information, if you're curious, a lot of the examples that I've talked about today, if you'd like to hear more from those faculty member directly, they talked with me on a podcast called The AI Ate My Homework that I record with them, and where basically they gave me their assignment and I cheated it. I used an AI to flat out cheat on the assignment just to see what it could do. And then we talked about the results. And so that's where a lot of that kind of thought process and some of the reflective activities that I was describing are coming from. Which, by the way, if you're interested in talking about whether or not your assignment can be cheated on by the AI, I'd be happy to try that. You can reach out to me. And then lastly, if you want more information from the Delphi Center, we do run a SharePoint that you do need access through a current university password, but it is on AI for teaching and learning, and it has a wild amount of information. We pull in a lot of the news articles and also highlighting faculty that are doing other kinds of work with AI, and just a variety of resources. So definitely keep that one in mind. And I want to thank you all. I see some people have been pleasantly surprised, and I hope that this was helpful. So I hope to talk with you all in the future. And thanks so much, Sharon.
No, thank you, Jason. And we do have a special gift for you. It's a automated or electronic portfolio. I'll bring it over to you personally because you've just been a great leader here on campus to kind of expose us to new and different things, especially in the Adobe world. So on behalf of everybody, thank you so much. So with that, we'll conclude. I put a thank you in there, and actually we did a randomized drawing. And Janice, you have won the other portfolio. So the electronic portfolio I have here, I'll give to you as you exit. So thank you for that. And again, watch for from the Digital Transformation Center and on behalf of Hive here at the University of Louisville, thanks for your attention. And we're always open to suggestions of other things that we can bring up and try to support the community at large, not just the University of Louisville connection too. So with that said, we'll adjourn. Thank you,
Yeah.
Dr. Amgraw.
And at Hive, we do a lot of collaborative work with small businesses and community organizations. So just connect with us if you need anything.
Thank
Thank
you. Yeah. All right. Thank you all so much.